Hello everyone, welcome to Rumah Inggriku. I'm really happy you are here. If this is your first time listening, thank you for joining me. My name is Riang Abrid. In this podcast, I want to share stories about Indonesia, our culture, our language, our people, all in English with an Indonesian voice. Today, I'd like to talk about something that many visitors notice almost immediately after arriving in Indonesia. They often say, people here smile a lot. And honestly, I never thought much about it. Because when you grow up in a culture, many things feel completely normal. You don't question them, you simply live with them. But after reading comments from tourists, watching travel videos, and talking to people from different countries, I realized that maybe smiling isn't experienced in the same way everywhere. So today, let's explore a simple question. Why do Indonesians smile so much? Imagine this. You arrive at an airport in Indonesia. Someone helps you with your luggage. They smile. The immigration officer smiles. The taxi driver smiles. The hotel receptionist smiles. The woman selling fruit smiles. Even someone passing you on a small village road may smile, even though they have never met you before. If you come from a culture where strangers rarely interact, this can feel surprising. Some tourists even wonder, are they really this friendly? It's a fair question. Now, does this mean Indonesians are happier than everyone else? Not really. We have problems. We worry about money. Students worry about exams. Parents worry about their children. Workers worry about their jobs. Sometimes we feel stressed. Sometimes we feel exhausted. Sometimes we simply have a bad day, just like everyone else. So, smiling is not always a reflection of happiness. Sometimes it's something deeper than that. In Indonesia, a smile often has a social function. It helps create harmony. It reduces tension. It shows respect. It tells another person, I come with good intentions. Sometimes words are not even necessary. A smile already says enough. For example, imagine you accidentally bump into someone in a supermarket. Many Indonesians immediately smile, not because they are happy they bumped into someone, but because the smile helps soften the situation. It's almost like saying, it's okay, without speaking. Here's another example. Suppose you visit a small food stall. The seller may smile before saying anything. That smile creates warmth. It makes the interaction feel more personal. It's a very small gesture. But small gestures can completely change how we experience everyday life. Of course, Indonesia is incredibly diverse. More than 17,000 islands, hundreds of ethnic groups, hundreds of local languages, different traditions, different customs, different ways of speaking. So, I cannot say that every Indonesian smiles in exactly the same way. That wouldn't be true. But many visitors do notice a general atmosphere of friendliness. And I think that's something worth appreciating. I also think this connects to another important value in Indonesian culture, gotong royong. This is one of my favorite Indonesian expressions. Unfortunately, It's difficult to translate perfectly into English. People often translate it as mutual cooperation. But I think that translation misses something. Gotong royong is more than working together. It's about helping because we belong to the same community. It's about sharing responsibility. It's about understanding that life becomes easier when people help each other. Maybe that's one reason smiles feel so natural here. Because kindness is already part of many social interactions. Another interesting thing is that Indonesians often smile when they feel embarrassed. This surprises many foreigners. Imagine someone forgets your name. Instead of looking angry, they smile. Imagine someone makes a mistake while speaking English. Many Indonesians smile, sometimes even laugh. This doesn't always mean they think it's funny. Sometimes they simply feel embarrassed. The smile becomes a way to deal with uncomfortable emotions. Culture can be fascinating. The same smile can communicate confidence, kindness, respect, embarrassment, or even nervousness. The meaning depends entirely on the situation. This is why learning a language isn't enough. If you really want to understand a country, you also need to understand its culture. Because language and culture are deeply connected. As someone who teaches English, I often tell people this. Speaking English isn't only about grammar. It's also about understanding people. You can know thousands of English words and still misunderstand someone's intentions. On the other hand, you can have limited vocabulary, but if you understand people's culture, communication becomes much easier. Sometimes people ask me, should Indonesian smile less to look more professional? Personally, I don't think so. Professionalism doesn't mean becoming cold. Kindness is not weakness. Warmth is not unprofessional. In fact, many visitors remember Indonesia precisely because people make them feel welcome. Of course, there are situations where smiling isn't appropriate. During serious conversations, during emergencies, or when someone is grieving. Every culture understands that. But in everyday life, I think smiling helps make society a little more comfortable. I also wonder something. If more people smiled at strangers, would our cities feel different? Would public transportation feel friendlier? Would shopping become more pleasant? Would people become a little less stressed? I don't know the answer, but it's an interesting question to think about. One thing I love about making this podcast is that I can share Indonesia with many people around the world. Not only our famous places, not only Bali, not only our food, but also the little things, the everyday things that many Indonesians don't even notice anymore. Sometimes, the smallest cultural habits are the most interesting. So, if you ever visit Indonesia and someone smiles at you, don't be surprised. Maybe they are simply saying, "Welcome," without using any words. Now I'd like to hear from you. Where are you listening from? Do people usually smile at strangers in your country? Or is smiling something reserved for family and friends? I'd love to read your experiences in the comments. Thank you so much for spending your time with me today. This is Rumah Inggriku, sharing Indonesia with the world, in English with an Indonesian voice. I'll see you in the next episode. Goodbye.